Halloween night in 2001 felt quieter than usual. I remember noticing it before anything strange happened. Our street in Des Moines was usually packed. Kids running between houses, parents chatting at the curb, porch lights glowing like a runway. But that year, it thinned out early. A cold wind had kicked up after sunset, and by 8 o'clock most of the younger kids were already gone. I was 17, a senior in high school, and trusted enough to stay home alone. My parents were at a costume party across town. They'd left a big plastic bowl of candy on the kitchen counter and told me to hand it out until I got tired, then turn off the porch light and lock up. Simple. I liked being alone that night. I had the TV on low, some cheesy horror movie marathon playing in the background. The house felt familiar and safe. The creak of the stairs, the hum of the fridge, the occasional car passing outside. By around 8:30 p.m., the doorbell slowed to a stop. I checked the bowl. Still half full. I figured I'd give it another 10 minutes before calling it a night. I stood by the front window and watched a few teenagers wander past, masks pulled up onto their heads, laughing and shoving each other. Then the doorbell rang again. I opened the door expecting another group of teens. Instead, there was just one kid. He stood at the edge of the porch light, like he didn't want to step fully into it. Small. Skinny. Maybe 8 or 9 years old. He wore a dark hoodie instead of a costume, the hood pulled so low it shadowed his face. No mask, no makeup. Just a pillowcase held loosely in one hand. Something about that immediately bothered me. Trick or treat, he said. His voice was quiet and flat. Not shy, just empty. I hesitated longer than I should have, then shrugged and grabbed a handful of candy. As I dropped it into his bag, I noticed he didn't look at the candy. He didn't even look at me. His head stayed angled down, eyes hidden. "Happy Halloween," I said. He didn't respond. He turned and walked down the driveway without another word. I watched him go, feeling stupid for being unsettled. Plenty of kids were awkward. Plenty didn't dress up properly. Still, I stayed at the door a little longer than usual, watching him reach the sidewalk. He stopped. Slowly, he turned around. Even from that distance, I could tell he was looking directly at me. Not waving, not smiling, just standing there, staring. I closed the door and locked it, telling myself I was being paranoid. I went back to the couch and turned the TV up a little, trying to shake the feeling. 10 minutes passed, then 15. The doorbell rang again. I sighed, annoyed now more than nervous, and walked back to the door. When I opened it, my stomach dropped. It was the same kid, same hoodie, same bag. Standing closer this time. "Didn't you already come by?" I asked. He nodded slowly. "Then why are you back?" I said, trying to sound firm. He lifted his head just enough for me to see his mouth. I didn't get enough. His tone was calm, not demanding, not joking. I laughed awkwardly. "Sorry, man. One trip only." We stood there in silence for a few seconds. The wind moved his hoodie slightly, but his face stayed hidden. Then he reached into his bag. "I can show you," he said. He tipped the bag upside down. Candy spilled onto my porch. Chocolate bars, lollipops, wrapped gummies. And mixed in with it, clinking softly against the concrete, was a set of keys. My keys. I stared at them, my brain refusing to catch up. They were unmistakable. The worn blue keychain my dad gave me. The house key. The garage key. My throat went dry. "What the hell is that?" I whispered. The kid looked up then. Not all the way, but enough for me to see his eyes. They were older than his face. Calm. Knowing. "You dropped them," he said. I slammed the door shut and locked it so hard my hands hurt. My heart was pounding so loudly I thought I might pass out. I ran into the kitchen, my footsteps echoing too loudly in the empty house. The hook by the fridge was empty. My keys weren't there. I grabbed the phone and dialed my parents. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. I crouched by the front window and peeked through the blinds. The kid was gone. Not walking away. Gone. I turned on every light in the house. I checked the back door, locked. The garage door, locked. Windows, closed. But I couldn't stop shaking. When my parents finally answered, I was almost crying. They told me to lock myself in my room and that they were on their way back. Police arrived about 20 minutes later. They took my statement seriously, which surprised me. They searched the yard, the street, the neighboring blocks. They asked if anyone else could have had my keys. They dusted the porch for prints. They found nothing. My parents tried to rationalize it. Maybe I'd dropped the keys outside earlier. Maybe another kid picked them up and played a prank. But there was one thing no one could explain. The next morning, my dad went outside to take out the trash. He called me over. Under my bedroom window, in the soft dirt by the foundation, were muddy footprints, small ones. Barely visible, but clear enough. They faced the house, right below my window. The police came back and took photos. They checked the window. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints. They told us it was probably coincidence, but I know better. That kid didn't find my keys on the street. He got them from inside the house. I don't hand out candy anymore, and every Halloween when the doorbell rings late, after the street has gone quiet, I remember the way he looked at me, like he already knew how the night would end, and like he knew I'd never forget him. By the time we realized something was wrong, it was already too late to pretend we were just scared for fun. Halloween night in 2010 was cold in that damp, northern way that seeps into your clothes and settles in your bones. I was 22, in my final year at university, and desperate for something memorable to mark the night. None of us wanted clubs or crowded house parties. We wanted something different, something genuinely scary. That's how we heard about the haunted house. It wasn't advertised officially. No website, no tickets. Just a photocopied flyer taped to a notice board near campus and a few posts circulating on Facebook. Pop-up haunted attraction, it said. One night only. Free entry. Not for the faint-hearted. The address was vague. An abandoned property on the outskirts of Manchester, near an old industrial estate. That should have been our first warning. There were 4 of us. Me, my boyfriend at the time, Tom, and our friends Hannah and Marcus. We parked near a row of derelict warehouses just after 9 p.m. Other cars were already there, scattered haphazardly, their headlights cutting through the fog. We followed the sound of distant laughter and the occasional scream, which made us feel reassured. Clearly, other people were doing this too. The building itself sat back from the road, half hidden by trees and overgrown brush. It was a large 2-story house, once grand but now rotting. Broken windows, sagging roofline, ivy creeping up the walls. The front door stood open. No lights, no decorations, no fake cobwebs, just darkness inside. Marcus joked that it was next-level realism. Hannah laughed, but I noticed she stayed close to me. We stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Damp wood. Rust. Something metallic underneath, faint but unpleasant. The door behind us creaked as it swung inward, then slowly shut on its own. The sound echoed through the house. Inside, it was darker than I expected. No ambient lighting, just moonlight filtering through broken windows. The floorboards groaned under our weight, every step loud in the silence. "Is this part of it?" Tom whispered. Before I could answer, we heard footsteps upstairs. Slow. Deliberate. Not running. Not rushing, just walking. A man's voice drifted down from above. "Don't be shy," he said calmly. "It's better upstairs." The hairs on my arms stood up. That wasn't a scripted scare. There was no theatrical tone, no exaggerated menace. It sounded like someone talking to us in a normal house. Marcus laughed nervously. "Okay, that's creepy." We took a few tentative steps toward the staircase, then stopped. The stairs were narrow and steep, the banister broken in places. The darkness above them felt heavy, like it was pressing downward. Something clicked in my head then. There were no other people inside, no groups ahead of us, no staff guiding us, no emergency lighting, no exit signs. This wasn't an attraction. This doesn't feel right. I said quietly. Hannah nodded immediately. I want to leave. Tom hesitated, pride warring with instinct. We just got here. Then the footsteps upstairs started moving again, closer, toward the top of the stairs. We turned toward the front door. It was closed. Tom reached for the handle and pulled. It didn't move. Locked. From the inside. My stomach dropped. Marcus tried next, putting his shoulder into it. The door rattled but didn't open. Behind us, the man spoke again, closer now. You shouldn't go yet. That was it. We ran, not up the stairs, down a narrow hallway branching off the main room. The ceiling dipped lower the farther we went, the walls closing in. The air felt colder, thicker. At the end of the hall was another door, unlocked. We burst through it into the night air, lungs burning, legs shaking. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. I slammed the door shut and locked it, hands trembling so badly I dropped my keys. From the car window, I looked back at the house. An upstairs window was open. A man leaned out, middle-aged, unshaven, no costume, no mask. He raised one hand and waved. Slowly, casually, like he'd just watched neighbors leave a dinner party. We drove straight to the police station. They took our report seriously, more seriously than I expected. An officer recognized the address immediately. He exchanged a look with another officer before asking us to repeat everything, slowly. Later, we learned why. The house wasn't abandoned. A man had been living there illegally for years, squatting, moving between properties. He'd installed interior locks on several doors. He'd been reported multiple times for trespassing and harassment. When officers searched the house that night, they found something chilling: a notebook. Inside were dates written in careful handwriting. Every single date was October 31st. Some were circled, some had tally marks next to them. The officer told us they believed he used Halloween as cover. People expected fear, expected screams, expected to be confused. That's how he got away with it for so long. They never told us what he intended to do if we'd gone upstairs. I don't think I want to know. I don't do haunted houses anymore. And every Halloween when people talk about how fun it is to be scared, I remember that night. The locked door, the calm voice, the way he waved. Because real fear doesn't feel exciting. It feels quiet. And it doesn't stop when you leave the building. I was 11 years old the night I learned that fear doesn't always wake you up. Sometimes it waits for you to open your eyes. Halloween night in 1995 had been perfect. Warm, loud, full of energy. My neighborhood in San Antonio was packed with kids running between houses, parents sitting on lawn chairs, porch lights glowing like beacons. I'd gone trick-or-treating with my cousins until my feet hurt and my pillowcase was heavy with candy. My costume that year was simple: a plastic mask with exaggerated features and elastic straps, cheap but convincing enough in the dark. By the time we got home, I was exhausted. My parents let me stay up a little later than usual, sorting candy on my bedroom floor while the sounds of laughter and car doors drifted in through the open windows. Eventually, my mother told me to get ready for bed. I remember taking off most of my costume but leaving the mask on my dresser. I remember that clearly. I brushed my teeth, changed into pajamas, and crawled into bed. My parents left the hallway light on like they always did. My bedroom door stayed open. The house felt normal. Safe. I fell asleep almost immediately. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. There was no noise, no crash, no dream that jolted me awake. I just opened my eyes, and the first thing I saw was my Halloween mask. It was standing upright at the foot of my bed, facing me. At first, my brain didn't react. It tried to make sense of what I was seeing, like it always does when you wake up suddenly. I thought maybe I'd knocked it off the dresser. Maybe it had fallen and landed that way by accident. But the longer I stared, the more wrong it felt. The mask wasn't lying on the floor. It was balanced, perfectly upright, centered at the foot of my bed, exactly where someone would stand if they wanted to look at me. I felt my chest tighten. The hallway light was still on, casting a dim glow into my room. The mask's empty eye holes looked darker than the shadows around them. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I told myself not to panic. that it was just a stupid piece of plastic, that I was still half asleep. Then it tilted, just a little, not falling, not tipping over, tilting, like something had touched it. That's when I screamed. I don't remember climbing out of bed. I don't remember running. I just remember my throat burning as I screamed and my parents rushing in, flipping on the light. The mask fell over, flat on the floor. My dad picked it up immediately. "Miguel, what happened?" I was crying so hard I couldn't talk. I pointed at the spot where it had been standing. "It was there," I kept saying. "It was watching me." My parents exchanged a look. My mom hugged me tight, telling me I'd had a nightmare. My dad checked the windows, the closet, under the bed. Everything was locked. Nothing was out of place. They put the mask in the closet and told me to sleep in their room for the rest of the night. I didn't sleep. The next morning, Halloween felt over. The street was quiet. Decorations were already coming down. The sun made everything look harmless again. I started to believe them. Maybe I had done it myself. Maybe I'd woken up and moved the mask without remembering. Kids do weird things in their sleep. I almost convinced myself. Almost. Then my mother found the footprints. She was mopping the hallway floor when she stopped and called my father's name. I watched from the doorway as he crouched down. There were muddy footprints leading from the back door. Not adult-sized, small, child-sized. They moved down the hallway, past my parents' bedroom, and stopped right outside my room, right where the mask had been. My dad went pale. He checked the back door, unlocked. The chain still on, but not hooked. My parents called the police. They asked questions, took notes, checked windows and doors again. They told my parents it was probably neighborhood kids messing around after trick-or-treating. Someone might have tried the door, wandered inside, panicked, and left. But that explanation didn't sit right. Nothing was stolen, nothing was disturbed, the footprints didn't wander. They went straight to my room and stopped. Years later, when I was older, my mother told me something she hadn't said at the time, that when the police dusted the mask for prints, they found smudges. Not fingerprints, smears. Like someone had held it with bare hands for a long time. I'm an adult now. I don't wear masks. I don't keep them in my house. On Halloween, I double lock my doors without thinking. And sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night for no reason at all, I don't open my eyes right away, because a part of me still believes if I look too soon, something might already be standing there, watching.